Hey everyone, today I'm going to talk about an important step for me in learning Japanese, which was starting to read manga. So when I started teaching myself Japanese, it was a really slow process and it was very, very difficult. But once I got my ability up high enough and I knew enough words, I wanted to start reading manga because it's something I like. I like the characters, I like the stories, I like watching anime. So reading the manga in Japanese was a really good next step. It was something I enjoyed. That way, when I'm feeling lazy, I'll read it. When I'm feeling motivated, I'll read it. Just it's a good step into learning how to fluently read a language, which is on your way to being fluent in a language. So I tend to use Google Translate. Um, Google Translate's super easy, super fast, but do not trust it. Do not trust Google Translate. I use it for very specifically one word. I'll read and I'll find a new word and I'll look it up one word at a time. And I write it down. Always write it down. Now, I say don't trust it. Don't trust it. But it's a very good first step. For things a little more difficult, I tend to use gisho.org. Gisho is just Japanese for dictionary. And then for grammar points, I have to do additional research, but those are pretty easy just to look. There's many online resources for that that you can go to. So I like to dive right in and start talking about a lot of manga that I liked and what are some of the strengths and what are some of the weaknesses of each one and how that can better help you to find what you like, find what works best for you. So the first book, or the first manga, is Black Clover. So I bring this one first because this is my current favorite manga, current favorite anime that I love watching. And that's just my personal preference. That's just what I like. And so that's why it's really important to find something that you're excited about, something, a story that you like. That way you can do it when you're feeling motivated and when you're feeling lazy. You're like, oh, I can read this. Oh, I can read this a little bit. Um, just finding something you like is super important. It's absolutely critical. Now, don't make the mistake I made. The mistake I made when I first started reading manga was I picked something way above my skill level. I picked Death Note. I bought the entire series, all 14 volumes. Well, 12 is the story and two extra, but I bought all of them at once, and it's still incredibly difficult for me. So when you start reading something, definitely adjust your skill level to where it's at because I'm still working on Death Note. I bought it all and I'm only 5 volumes in, and it's still incredibly difficult. I still feel like my head went through a blender every time I read it, but I do see my progress. The more I read other things, the more it starts to make sense. The more it's easier to read through. But don't make the mistake of going so far above your skill level that you get discouraged. Find something that's fun, find something that's easy. And for easy titles, um, Dragon Ball and Fairy Tail are very good as easy titles. So I love reading these. Especially I love reading Fairy Tail. Fairy Tail to me is I absolutely love the anime and I've been loving the story. Dragon Ball was actually a little bit harder because a lot of Dragon Ball is written without kanji. And reading Japanese without kanji is like reading English without spaces. Yes, you can do it. Yes, it's possible, but it's more difficult to read it. It's much more difficult. Um, but both of these are very easy titles with pretty easy words, and they're fun to get through. There's lots of action in both, which makes it much easier to get through a whole book, and you feel much more accomplished. So finding something easy and that you like is very, very important. A book like Your Name, Kimi no Nawa, is is good too because it's a very short book. There's only 3 volumes. Um, I really enjoyed it. I love the movie. The movie was great. Because I love the movie, I decided, you know what, I'm going to go out and buy the whole series. And the whole series is only 3 books. And it's very easy. It is a little difficult when you're learning because a little part of it spoke in Inakaben, which is a countryside linguistics. It's countryside. Uh, what's the word? It's countryside speak. So it's a little bit more difficult, but it's a very fun story. It's very easy to read. So when you're starting, picking things that are easy and picking things that you like are a great thing. But once you've started really getting, really speeding up those things, when you start reading more and more, faster and faster, it's good to get a little bit more variety in, get a little bit more difficulty in. So things like Fullmetal Alchemist are pretty good. Um, but again, Fullmetal Alchemist has a lot of things that aren't really commonly said. And as a learner, it's really hard to tell the difference between them. One of the big places you notice it is in the pronouns. Um, Lots of pronouns in Full Metal Alchemist are things you wouldn't hear spoken daily. You really only hear watashi, boku, ore. Um, those are the main pronouns you hear for a person calling themselves. But in Full Metal Alchemist, there's many, many more that just aren't used in common Japanese today. Um, but that being said, Full Metal Alchemist is a great story. It's absolutely great, but it can be a little difficult to read at times, and not really as important. The words you need to know, because they're words not used in common day Japanese. Um, then there's books like or manga like Attack on Titan. Now, Attack on Titan is a great series. It's absolutely fantastic. It's so entertaining. It's great to watch. But it does have a little bit of a difficulty with it, which, if you watch the anime, you might see this. So, with most Japanese manga artists or manga storytellers, it's or manga authors, it their second language is almost always English, and it comes out. And the reason for that is because all Japanese students have 6 years of English, so they pick up words here and there. Most of one of their languages, the language for borrowed words, is borrowed words from English, so there's lots and lots of words from English. But in Attack on Titan's case, it's very obvious that the author's second language is German, which can make a lot of these borrowed words much more difficult to understand. Um, so it is challenging, but it is a very good series. I highly recommend it. And then there's manga like Assassination Classroom. Now, Assassination Classroom is a great series. It's already ended, and it's a lot of fun. There's a lot more talking in Assassination Classroom than most of the other books that I've shown, except for Death Note. Death Note has the most, but there's a lot of talking in Assassination Classroom. But it's a lot of real day talking. I mean, yes, it has the whole story is about an octopus creature who is threatening to blow up the world, but it's set in a middle school. And most of what they do is a real world conversation. So it's a really good step up. It's a really good stepping up point to use more advanced language and get more advanced knowledge about how to talk to people. And the last one is One Punch Man. So One Punch Man is fantastic. The words are a little more difficult than most of the other things. The words are a little more difficult, but there's so much action and it's so beautifully drawn, so beautifully illustrated that it's just so much fun to read. So while you're reading and you're looking up new words, um, it goes by really fast. It's a lot of fun. So with all of these series, there are pluses and minuses to each one. Some are really low skill level, some are really high skill level. Always kind of adjust your skill level to what you think is best, and find something you think is fun. Find a series you think is fun. That's the best advice I can give is find a series that you think is just exciting, something that you think is amazing, and that you can dive into. That way, you can have fun and you can learn, which is honestly the easiest way to learn. If you can make something fun, that's the easiest way to learn. And that's what I did by reading manga. And I highly recommend it for anyone. you know, I've been talking a lot, so thank you very much, and goodbye.